Hi, I'm Billy Keels, the host of the Going Long podcast. Every week, I'm going to be here interviewing the absolute best in the business as it relates to real asset investing, as well as real Main Street investors. We're going to be having conversations where you can listen in, and that's going to help you to continue on your path to education so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident in investing long distance. So make sure that you go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Make sure that you're liking it as well, because that way you can get every single episode as soon as it comes out. And by the way, don't forget to leave today's episode a 5-star review. Let's go ahead and listen to today's conversation. Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so that you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. I'm your host, Billy Keels. And you know what? If you've ever wanted to know how healthcare professionals can find healing in commercial real estate, even if it's beyond their backyard, then guess what? Today's the conversation that you're going to want to listen to until the very last word, because today's guest not only achieved her bachelor's in biology from Cornell University, also as a coordinator for outpatient clinics, she knows how to manage high volume opportunities as well as time sensitive and confidential information. She started her real estate journey in 2010 following a life event, and she started her long distance investing in 2013. So hopefully she's going to tell us a little bit more about that, because that was when she was doing something a little bit different related to the state of Michigan. You know what? She also believes in the power of and, because she's not only a senior care coordinator, she's a senior care coordinator and she's the managing partner of Noirvest Holdings, LLC. Gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation, Nicole Pendergrass. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, Billy. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am super excited. I love what you're doing. I love the energy that you have and all of the people that you are already going out to help, and as you're on this path to becoming, and it's really, really great to have you on the show. So
Thank you.
Yeah. So, the thing is, I like to ask everybody the same 5 questions. You're going to get a couple questions in the beginning, and then we're going to talk about the last 3 at the very end. And in between, you're going to get a chance to tell us more about you and your experience. So the thing is, I always want to know, where do you live in the United States?
I am in New York City in the Bronx.
All right. Fantastic. In the Bronx in New York City. I think most people know where that is. I'm going to guess pretty much everybody. So listen, also too, Nicole, appreciate you sharing that. What is the most positive thing that's happened to you in the last 24 hours?
What day of the week is this? It's Wednesday. So actually, just having clarity of mind this past 24 hours, I've been super productive. And actually, you know what? I know something that did happen. Someone brought me in off-market deals, 2 off-market deals to analyze and potentially do a deal together with. So I am still in the process of underwriting those, but that's really good. It's basically from your network and making those relationships, and people want to work together and they bring you some deals. And especially in this market when deals are so hard to come by, hopefully these pencil out.
The market is red hot, and it's great to have network. And this is one of the things we're definitely going to talk about, because you are very, very focused there and adding value to others. And I think it's a lot. I know that people can learn lots and lots from you. So thanks for sharing that, Nicole. And listen, I gave a couple seconds, high level detail, high level about your backstory, but I know that there's a lot more to it. And so would love for you to share your backstory in your words. And if you could just do us a favor also too, so that the Going Long family gets to know you a little bit better. If you can talk about maybe some of along that journey, some of the major decision points that you've made to get to this point in your journey. And then from there, you and I will see what the future looks like.
Okay. So actually my journey started, like you said, in 2010. And the life event was my father passing. So that originally was not, directly tied to me getting involved with real estate. But then it really opened up my eyes and said, you know what, I need to do something more. I need to have my life have purpose and live every day, with intention, right? So I happened to go to a 3-day real estate investing seminar. And that was the first time that I really got exposed to, wow, normal people can invest in real estate and you can really change your life and your outcome with this vehicle. So I signed up in the back of the room to be able to get in the coaching class. And I dove right into the education, and I spent years doing that. I, at that time, was a couple of years out of college. So of course I ruined my credit in college. And of course I had no money or savings. I was still new, like at my job. So I started with wholesaling because that's what they tell you to do when you're first starting out. And I started that route for a couple of years, never did anything, then ended up joining with people from the New York City REIA. And we went on a property tour in Michigan. And we liked what was happening there in Detroit. And it was still early because Detroit gets a bad name for what happens in that area, in that market. We liked it. We saw the possibilities. We saw the money going into downtown. And so we said, okay, we're going to do this. And our goal was to buy single family homes at tax auction and use those for special needs populations. We started with normal tenancy just to get the ball rolling, and we're going to transfer over. We just had a lot of issues. So Detroit has a bad rap for a purpose. You definitely need somebody on the ground there. Boots on the ground is intimate knowledge, block by block, in order to invest there. And I think us being long distance, you can invest where you want to, but you need to have the boots on the ground or the team there, I believe, that can really guide you. And even if it's your property managers that are there, but you need to have someone who's really invested in the success of your company. And then from there, I basically ended up closing on a 3-family house in the Bronx that I house hacked. And from that I spent like a couple of years just managing issues with that, having to evict a tenant. Some stuff as soon as I closed, there were issues with like electricity and plumbing and all this stuff that cost me like a few $1,000s to kind of fix. And this was like a month or two after I closed. And then after that, like, honestly, after I got over a couple of those first hurdles, which I actually wouldn't take back for the world, because they taught me a lot about property management and tenant relations and dealing with contractors. And I was living there, so I was seeing all this stuff and doing it on a daily basis. And after a couple of years, after we got the eviction settled, and I found someone to help me with getting the right tenants in and really screening, that's the who, not how. I'm reading that book now, and that's definitely, you need a who for helping with you with, things that is not your strong point. And right now it's been great. Like I in that time I got married, I had my first child, and then I got pregnant with a second child. So we moved out of that 3-family house into an apartment. But now it's basically, I haven't even been there, and it's really like 10-minute drive down the road. And I haven't been there in like months because the tenants I have now are great, and they don't call me for anything. Like, unless there's an issue, they pay on time. Even in the pandemic, I've had like a couple of vacancies, people moving out 2 or 3 times during the pandemic, and I've always gotten new tenants who are paying. So it's all about screening and systems. Mm-hmm. And then I've also used that money from that property. It appreciated drastically over the time that I had it. And I use that equity to roll into a commercial property. So I bought an apartment building out in Pennsylvania, which is another semi-long distance, but I have the team in place. I have the boots on the ground and the property management who, is very helpful in helping me run all of that. And so basically I just have my calls with the property management to make sure everything is going well, and that we're turning over the units and increasing the value there, not only for the residents, but also the building appreciates by doing that, by increasing, the amenities that you have for the tenants, for increasing the rent, for decreasing expenses, and just making operations more streamlined. And you get value on the back end from that. So I'm waiting for the refinance of that 6th unit, and then we'll go into the next investments.
Wow. So it sounds like you've been extremely productive. Is what I like to say. Not just busy, but productive. Well, everything from your life event that started in 2010 all the way to, now continuing to go long distance, and also having experience in doing things yourself in your backyard. And so having that mixed experience, I think, is something that's fantastic. And all of that's underlined by the fact that we talked about, or I said that you have the power of and, because you're doing all of this at the same time you've got a day job, right?
Oh, yeah. And I got 3 day jobs, my W-2 and the 2 kids. Each one is a full-time day job by themselves.
I love that.
Especially as toddlers, because one is 3 and one is 1. So yeah, that's That's a
Wow.
full-time job.
Oh yeah, that's
More work
definitely.
than my W-2, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, which is probably easier being at the job sometimes. Um, so just because one of the things that happened. So you mentioned in the beginning, and people are probably asking this. So you had your life event. So you had your father passed away, and then after that, you mentioned that sometime thereafter, you decided to go to a 3-day boot camp with real estate. And I guess my question, and I don't necessarily like to ask two questions at the same time, but number one, does your family have any experience with real estate? Like, do you come from a real estate family?
No, not at all.
Okay. So no real estate experience. You have this life event, right? A rather major life event. And then you find yourself in a 3-day boot camp for real estate. Like, how in the world, if you don't come from a real estate family, like, how did you even,
How does that
to the
happen?
point, yeah, like, how does that even happen?
Yeah. Okay. So I will correct myself and preface that, yes, besides buying our own home, like my mom owns her home. So single family residence, that's the extent of real estate experience that I come from with my family. The 3-day boot camp was actually my then boyfriend, now husband. He bought tickets to the 3-day boot camp. I don't know if he was searching for something and looking for some other type of like way out. I don't even know how he got introduced to it. He bought tickets. He offered the other, and then you buy tickets, you could bring somebody for free. So he offered the other ticket to his sister, and his sister didn't want to go. So then he brought me. And then from there, I just took off running, and it's been 10 years since.
So it was more by life event that happened, right? It wasn't something that you were looking for. You had some free time, and your boyfriend at the time was like, "Hey, look, my sister can't go, and you want to go." So
Yes.
that kind of makes sense. But then we're always told to look to buy beyond your backyard, and then you're telling us that you got on a bus and you went to, or I understood you said you got on a bus. If not, excuse me, correct me. But you all of a sudden
I definitely flew to Detroit.
Okay, you flew to Detroit. Okay, sorry. I don't know. These things happen to me. So okay, so you flew to Detroit. I was like, you went from a bus from the Bronx to okay.
No,
Anyway,
no.
okay, so that's on me. So, but you went beyond your backyard and you went to Detroit. Like, when you weren't even thinking about real estate. Most people talk about real estate as buying your home or it's in your backyard, and then, like, how in the world did that feel? How did you feel comfortable enough to go a number of states away to get involved in something that you really didn't even know about before you went to this 3-day boot camp?
So, like I said, I was starting really with wholesaling. So I was trying to do that in my backyard for a couple of years. And I brought even some people together. We formed a whole partnership and everything, and we still never did a deal. And New York City is very competitive. But during that entire time, the first thing they tell newbies is to join your local R.E.I. So that's what I did. I joined the R.E.I. And so I was going to those meetings, every week, every month, and interacting and having their calls and all of this. And so they were also organizing these different trips to different markets. And this was one that I went to. Then I wasn't married, had no kids. I had, some extra disposable income to be able to go on the trip. And almost everyone who went on that trip was sold from the professionals that we met. We drove neighborhoods. We looked at a couple of buildings. We had talks with realtors, lenders, and all of those like other professionals that we would need in the market. And just hearing all the stuff and the developments that were happening there, we all were basically sold on the idea. So we decided to join together, and I wouldn't have done that by myself. I felt comfortable doing that because I had a group of people, and some were more experienced and some were new. So it wasn't like just a group of new people who never did it before. Like, I was aligning myself with people who had experience in real estate investing. And so that's where I think it's very important people to go out there, increase their networks, meet people, and just do what you can and kind of line yourself up with people who have some knowledge and some experience in the area that you want to pursue.
I love how you take us down this path, because this is one of the things that I like to talk to all the time with the Going Long family, which is really, and I know they've heard me say this many, many times, but it's first of all, getting crystal clear on what it is that you want the asset to do for you. So do you want it to create cash flow? Do you want it to help you to build up equity, some tax benefits, all those things? Then afterwards, you go to the location, right? And so Detroit was apparently one of the locations that was providing you what it was that you're looking for. And then without a doubt, and Nicole, completely agree with you. Like, the whole secret sauce is the third part, which is the team. having the people that understand the location, the demographics, the movements, the passive progress, all of those types of things. Because when you are by definition living in the Bronx and you're going to potentially be investing in Detroit, like somebody needs to know what's going on a day-to-day basis. And then the opportunity, whether it is house A, house B, or multifamily C, that all is in alignment. So so that's fantastic. And I'm glad that you shared that with us. What were some of the things when you were listening to the location of Detroit? Like you had a professional team, but what were some of the things that you were hearing about that would help the Going Long family as well? Like when they're looking at a new location, you're thinking to yourself, okay, Detroit actually could make sense for this because of these particular stats or whatever information you were getting about Detroit at the time.
Okay. And so at the time they were telling us about, there was billions of dollars going into the downtown to redevelop it. I think Rocket Mortgage or Quicken Loans, one of those, they had moved their headquarters into downtown Detroit, and that the owner of that was investing the billions of dollars into downtown. So things were starting to roll. They were saying like the city was actually becoming very stringent with blighted properties, and they were demolishing, old vacant homes because that's where a lot of like crime and drugs and things of that nature were happening. So they just wanted to clean up the city. So I felt that, and the other people in the group also felt that like the city and the government was in alignment with trying to recreate Detroit. And then money was going there. And there was a lot of money from outside investors, international investors, because properties were so cheap, you could buy them for a few $1,000s. So that was getting a lot of people interested in the area, but we also saw the development that was happening downtown, and we saw the city's involvement, and we liked that.
Okay, so city involvement, you saw that there were large organizations, big companies that were moving in the area. You saw that there were big dollars that were going there, and billions and billions of dollars going there. And so then that was one of the other reasons that made Detroit one of the places that you wanted to invest at least more time in energy. Mm-hmm. So that's really helpful. And so I know I mentioned also too in the beginning, like there's the power of right? Because you're working your day job and you've continued to do some things on the networking side. And so as we start to move in that direction of the people that you're actually helping and focused on helping today, tell us a little bit about what has networking done for you that is allowing you today to be able to serve more people?
Wow. Networking actually has given me more confidence because I've aligned myself with people who, especially in this day and age, who are just so extremely accomplished and are really go-getters, and they're go-givers as well. And I know I have access to resources for information for anything I don't know or anything I have questions about. I have like a group of people that I can just shoot questions to, and they're more than happy to like give me their resources to answer anything that they know. And that in turn helps me take that information and give it to the people who are reaching out to me and want to network with me, and people who are in my circle already, and just help them be able to change their lives or access to information. One thing is I actually started using a whole life insurance policy, but one of those bank on yourselves type policy, so that it creates cash value super quickly and not in the traditional way. And I told a girl about that I was networking with, and I sent her some of the resources that I had. And before I know, like a month later, she was like, this is the best information I've ever gotten. Thank you for this. And she had already set up like her account and already was using it for like investments, and told her sister. And so just like things like that. And then even close friends who are looking to either invest now, they want to get a multifamily, they want to do a house hack of a multifamily, or they want to like do an Airbnb, or even some things I want to do Airbnb. I haven't done one yet, but like, because I know some of those fundamentals and basics, I'm able to give them that information, and even like connect people. If I hear someone needs something and I know someone else who has that information, I'm always just connecting the dots and introducing people to the resources and information that they need to be successful. Because I really just want to see people win.
Yeah, and when you have that desire to see other people win, and that is one of the things, and this is something I know about you, right? I mean, we met on LinkedIn and we met from other people, and one of the things that I do know about you is that you continue to go out, you continue to give, you continue to connect other people. And the basis of that is really how you have started in terms of networking. And also too, like sometimes people are like, they think, oh, you're just a natural born networker and connector and all that kind of stuff. So Nicole, this is like a very direct question. Are you extremely extroverted and this is an easy thing for you?
No, no. And you know what? It depends on who you ask. If you ask my husband, he'd say, "Oh yeah, she's always wants to be the life of the party," right? But no, in my head, I'm not. This is something that, like, I'm not an introvert, but I'm not an extreme extrovert. I'm somewhere in the middle, depending on the situation. So before pandemic hit and everything was like in person, yeah, I would go to networking events. I'd go to real estate stuff. And normally nobody in my circle is in real estate like that, like none of my close core friends. So I'm going to these events by myself. And most of the time I'm like, oh, do I really have to go to this thing? Like, I really don't want to go because like, I don't know anybody there or, and so I force myself to go, like, you never know, just go. I force myself to go. And a lot of times I'll stand in the corner off to myself or just like wander around the room and try to figure out like who to talk to or who looks approachable. And then sometimes like my tactic was I would see like a big group of people because it's easier for me to just slide into the conversation with like a big group of people. And I just kind of give the disclaimer, oh, don't mind me, just join in the conversation and then let them keep talking instead of like going one-on-one, or I just wait for somebody to approach me one-on-one and talk. And sometimes some of those meetups and things, events that I was go to, like the ones that I really had to convince myself to go to would be the ones where I met the person that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I went because this was a great person, like a connection that I made today. And if I hadn't have gone, I wouldn't have ever, done that. So it's success lives outside of your comfort zone. You have to go be uncomfortable, make yourself uncomfortable, do something different because everyone knows that quote, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten.
Yep, that's absolutely it. And I guess the message there is for the Go Along family. Like, it's not always something that is just very, very easy, but just to Nicole's point, it's about being able to get outside of your comfort zone. When you want something that bad, when you're moving towards something or you're running away from something, like you have to do things differently if you want to start to get new results. And that's one of the reasons. And I'm glad that you're investing your time talking to us about some of the different things that you're doing. So I do want to pivot a little bit, Nicole, because I know you have on your heart to be able to help other people that are in the medical profession. So it's probably an obvious question, but I would love for you to answer it anyway, because I don't want to assume. And that's one of the things here, our Going Along family, we don't assume anything, we just ask. So kind of help us understand why this desire to want to help other people in the medical profession, and what is it that you see that they're missing today that makes you want to help individuals in the medical profession?
So, I've been in the medical profession since 2006. That's when I started my job, and I'm on the admin side, not clinical, but I do work in clinic with doctors and nurses and all those providing care. Over the years, I have seen fellows come in, because we're a teaching hospital. I've seen fellows come in and tell me, because I at first wanted to be a doctor. I was going to go into med school and do that whole path. So at the very beginning, fellows would come in and say, you know what? I wouldn't tell you to do it. Like, they were basically telling me not to pursue med school, but they were already so deep in that they had no choice but to keep going, right? And they had all these school loans, once you have medical school loans, you basically have to be a doctor in order to even try to pay those off, right? And then in the meantime, once you start making money, then your expenses, you get that expense creep. Like, you got the fancy car, you got the better house, you're starting to build a family, and you have lifestyle expectations. And a lot of people at that point, either for face or to keep up with the Joneses or just for personal comfort, they don't want to make those sacrifices that are sometimes needed to get ahead. And even like with the doctors that I've worked with, I have a lot of friends from undergraduate school who went on to med school and are now doctors and attendings. And some were smart and paid off their med school loans beforehand and some not. But they all have that problem now that they've worked really hard and spent the blood, sweat, and tears and all the years that it took to get to that position. But now it's kind of like, what do I do with this money? Like, the financial advisors are just going to tell them to invest in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and all those other kind of safe assets and this kind of thing. And then what about like the taxes that eat away with that? So I just see real estate as a different type of vehicle to help with that situation. And at least if they don't want to go 100% into real estate, I understand that, but to diversify, because you need a hard asset. And I feel like stocks and the Wall Street movement is really easy for the volatility of the market to eat away at your wealth, because once your portfolio decreases, like by a certain percent, let's say there's a 10 or 20% drop, you don't have to increase by 10 or 20%. You have to increase by like 15 or 25, 30%. Like you have to increase at a higher rate than your drop in order to make up for that loss. So just educating people, letting them know the benefits of real estate, and just helping them learn about how to shelter that money and be able to reserve that and keep that for generational wealth, and to help with their passive cash flow. Because what if something happens to their job? Or like, I know doctors are always needed, they're always in demand. But what if something happens to you? Life is not promised, as you know, I know from my life event that even got me into real estate in the beginning. So you can't say that you're not going to walk down the street and something happened and you don't make it home, or like you can't function the same as you could before. Maybe you don't have your job. So I think people really need to have this safety net in place of the passive cash flow and being able to preserve some of their generational wealth, so it's not eaten all away by fees and taxes.
Yeah. So, and you've done the work, you continue to network, you continue to grow, you continue to move forward, and you're surrounded by people on a day-to-day basis that are part of your profession. Many of them told you in the beginning, if you have a chance, don't show up here, right? And they had their reasons for saying, don't do it or do it, right? Mm-hmm. And as a result, you are now seeing on a day-to-day basis those doctors that are not really necessarily as happy from a financial perspective, which is also tied to quality of life and things like that. And you have this education, you have this ability to be able to help them. And so this is what is really on your heart to go out and continue to share with them. And yeah, you're not going to get a lot of sympathy for Wall Street here on this podcast. So pretty much everybody here that is listening understands. And that doesn't mean that people aren't, like you said, people have some interest in Wall Street and things like that. But we love real tangible assets that you can touch and processes that you can understand. So no, and I appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of times when people can hear why you're passionate about what it is that you're doing and why you want to help other medical professionals, doctors, physicians, et cetera, it's good to know why you have that goal. So one of the other things is that I'd love for you to share with us, like, because we're kind of talked about where you are now, and you talked about some of the different people that you want to be that you are helping, and help us understand kind of, because we haven't really talked about Noirvest. And so talk to us a little bit about Noirvest Holdings LLC, and also to what does the future look like?
Okay. So Noirvest basically came out of the French word for black, which is noir, and vest, just invest, and I melded them together because I really want to help the state of economic inequality in the racial wealth gap that persists in America today. And a lot of my community doesn't know, just like the doctors I want to help. I know a lot of, African American and Black and POCs who are doctors or in the medical profession, and we don't have that knowledge. Maybe like they're the first person in their family who went to college, right? Or who even to become a doctor. And so their network or their close circle of friends and family don't really know how to save and protect this money and invest and do all these other things. So basically, I created Noirvest to just do what we can to help with that wealth gap. And so on the investment side, it's working with people who have already reached a certain level as far as their profession and income. But then also we want to turn around and help give that information and resources to people who need to build up and get to the level that they are able to take that money and invest. Because I know the power of even doing it like a small multifamily. Like my 3-unit property basically changed my financial state right now. Because I used to have, of course, with student loans, a negative net worth, which is not uncommon in our communities. And now it's not. Now I'm like, I have a net worth that's above what the average is for Black households. And that's is no credit to myself. I think it's just the information, the hard work, and basically, I don't know. I won't say luck because I did put in the work, sweat, and tears. But I didn't take a property and renovate it and increase value. Like it basically was market appreciation that kind of helped. So I can't take credit for that. But at the same time, there's still such power in the strategy, and I want to help as many people as I can. That's why I take calls all the time, and whether it's with the medical profession, like doctors and whoever, or if it's with people who are still trying to build that up and learn how to build that capital and invest it and what they should do with that. So that's really what Noirvest is about. And for the future, I'm looking for, in my 5-year goals, really to create a fund, a learning fund that can help people get into real estate and create some type of education tied with their investment into a multifamily property. So I want to help with the wealth gap, disrupting that wealth gap through real estate. And that's basically our main motto there.
So I think that's fantastic. So you have some very clear goals. And because I happen to know that you are very, very humble, I'm going to give you credit for making the decisions that you made to be able to add value in the ways that you are adding value, both to the residents, to the communities where you've made the strategic decisions to invest in. And because of that, you are continuing to grow in terms of your net worth, in terms of your education, in terms of your network, and you're connecting people. So like I said, because maybe you're a little bit humble, and this is my show, so everybody was going to forgive me. I'm going to just tell you that, So take credit where credit is due, my friend.
Thank you.
So listen, here's the thing, Nicole. Like I told you, we ask 5 questions. There's 2 in the beginning and there's 3 in the end. And so now we're going to go to the going long final 3. And the thing is, I never ask the going long final 3 of anyone, Nicole, unless they tell me that they're ready to ask for me to ask the question. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. You were born ready. Here we go. So the very first of the going long final 3, we started with where you live over in the United States. And I live over here in Barcelona, Spain. It could be worse. But the thing is, I always want to know, like, what is your favorite European city, either that you visited or is on your bucket list to visit? Like one of those places that you're like, oh, this has got to, I either been there or I've got to go there or I want to go there. So what would that city be for you?
Paris. That's easy.
Paris. Well, of course, you said Noirvest. I actually started in Paris a while ago. So, yes. So Paris. And it's a wonderful city. And I don't know why it gets so many votes. Well, yes, I do, because it's an awesome city.
I actually took French in high school and a couple of years in college. And because I was trying to finish on time, I couldn't end up taking like the second year of my electives. I needed to take some science courses for that med school that I never went to. So I could have just kept taking French. But it's one of my long-term goals to become fluent in French. And I just need to sit and actually focus and put that into the daily habits.
There you go. And YouTube is great for that as well. Listening and podcasts are awesome.
Nice.
You didn't have these before. So, but yes, I'm the big fan of Paris as well. So second question. The thing is, like, one of the things I've always noticed is working with really successful people, Nicole, and you've probably seen this too, is like the thing with the successful people is they always only make one mistake, which is probably why they're super okay. I always get that wrong.
Successful.
I always get that wrong. Always. Maybe it's by design. I don't know. So here's the thing. Like super successful people, I mean, we've seen it all the time. They're no different than anybody else. They make loads and loads of mistakes all the time. The difference is successful people tend to take away a lesson from every single failure or learning opportunity or whatever. So you're a successful person. You're on that path to becoming. You're helping other people. And I'd want you to share with us, please, what is one lesson that you would share from one of those events that happened, one of those failure events or learning opportunities that would be very useful for the Going Long family?
Man, that's hard to narrow down. There's so many.
Just one.
Let's see. One, trust but verify.
Trust but verify. Now, I really, really like that a lot. Short, to the point, and yeah, it's one that we hear all the time, but not on the podcast. So I'm glad that you shared that with us. Fantastic.
No,
Trust but verify. As soon as I was thinking, okay, well, who are the people that have said it? And I was like, okay, I know who said it. And then I was like, okay, cool. Trust but verify.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that with us. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, and you can probably see over my shoulder here. And if, by the way, if you're like running on the treadmill and you're not watching this, you should go to the video version and like come over and say, hey to Nicole and I, because we love being able to see you here on any of these video outlets and stuff like that. So the thing is, we always love to leave the conversations with helping the Going Long family feed their minds. So would you please share with us one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today?
Grit by Angela Duckworth. I just finished hosting a book club / accountability club, reading that book. And I recommend that one because that's something more about mindset and continuing to persevere over obstacles. And I think that goes a long way for anybody, regardless of what your goals are. Even if you have non-real estate related goals, that will just help you in life in general and to know why it's so important.
Love that. Okay, Grit, Angela Duckworth. There we go. Love it. So, Nicole, this was long overdue, my friend. I am very glad that we got a chance to catch up. This has been awesome. I know that, like, thinking about the very beginning of the conversation, and you were kind and vulnerable enough to share with us that, after getting your degree at Cornell and thinking you wanted to go on one path, you decided you wanted to go somewhere else. You had a life event, losing your father. Then afterwards, your boyfriend, his sister, thank goodness, didn't go to the 3-day seminar. You ended up going with him. You fell in love with this real estate thing. You're already on a plane. See, I got it right that time. You're on a plane going to Detroit to check it out. You're finding out people are investing there. There's a lot moving. There's real estate that's really, really affordable. And you wanted to do that. Then you looked at going long distance. Then you went back to your backyard. You got started. You're moving even more. And since then, you've not just done single family residences, you're moving into the multifamily space, you're a master networker, you love connecting people, love adding value to others, and you're really focused on getting out and helping other individuals in the medical profession, doctors and all that kind of stuff. And you want to make an impact, and you are making an impact. And because of the conversation and all these things that you have and these awesomeness and this power that you have, I'm sure that there's so many people that are like, I got to get in touch with Nicole. I want to call her. I want to get in touch with her online. You talked about some of the strategy calls. What's the best way for the Going Long family to find out more about you and to get in touch with you, Nicole?
Well, they can find me on Instagram and also LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just my name, Nicole Pendergrass. You could go to the website, Noirvest Holdings, NOIRVEST Holdings.com. And there's a contact us page, and there's all the links to my social media channels there. You can send me a message through there. So I'm very accessible.
Fantastic. So noirvestholdings.com. You can find Nicole, as you mentioned, on Instagram. Listen, everybody from the Going Long family, do me a favor. Just go over to Nicole's website. Like, hopefully there's so many people that, well, no, I won't say that. Hopefully there's so many people that it just gets like this massive peak in people going to check out all the awesome things that Nicole is doing. And it would be fantastic. So go over and check out what she's doing at noirvestholdings.com. Also, too, I know Nicole is very, very active on LinkedIn. And when you reach out to her on LinkedIn and say that you enjoyed what she shared here today, just make sure that you let her know that you did hear her here on the Going Long podcast. I know that helps Nicole to be able to also know that that her story was resonating with our Going Long family. So with that, Nicole, listen, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for investing your time with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This was great.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. And Nicole, if you give me just like a couple seconds, I just want to say the last words to the Going Long family really quickly. To Going Long family, thanks so much once again for investing your time with Nicole and I. Nicole, look, she left so much value, and it's like she gave you actionable things, and she's given a way for you to contact her. And so, you know what? Why don't you be that person that can have an impact on other people's lives? Like, share today's episode with 2 or 3 other people at least, right? Because in that way you are also positively impacting their lives. You're attracting other like-minded people to the Going Long family, which is awesome. And if you could take a couple seconds as well and just leave an honest review of what you thought about today's conversation, what you liked, what you want to hear more from Nicole, and why you're going to be reaching out to her. Like I said, just it's something that I like to go through. I read every single one of them, and we continue to take on your input to make this show even better, whether you're watching us on video or listening to us on the audio. So one way or the other, take a couple seconds to leave an honest review. Would really appreciate that. And for everyone, I just want you to go out to continue to make it a great day. And I'm really looking forward to welcoming you back on the very next conversation. All right. Thank you very much. Make it a great day.
Wow, don't you love hearing from top-notch experts in the field? You know, when I was getting started, I really wish that I would have had access to such experts. And even more, I wish they would have given me like a really simple list of things to follow so that I could have gotten to my goals much faster and been much happier even sooner. So that's why I've created for you the 7 things that you should avoid in order to be successful in long-distance investing. And you can pick that up really easily by going to billykeels.com/7 things to avoid. And also, if you liked today's episode, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. I'm looking forward to seeing you on our very next episode, so go out and make it a great day.